In your last role as head of community at Mercury, you joined right after a major fundraise. How did the timing for you at Mercury shape your approach to building a community and balancing that with customer acquisition and support adoption?
I definitely ran the lowest budget team at Mercury, I would say, because my goal was always organic growth and word of mouth led growth. And I don't philosophically buy into the more money you spend on events and things like that, the more people will talk about them. I think that's just not true. And so my goal, especially in my first year and a half at Mercury, was really like, how far can we get on almost no money? What can we do by showing up as human beings in this ecosystem who understand our users and understand what founders are going through, and show up for them in a way that's actually useful, not like buying them drinks and like taking them to Knicks games.
Welcome to Growth Talks, where we dive into the world of marketing and growth with today's top industry leaders. I am Krystina Rubino, the general manager of the offline practice of Right Side Up, and your host. Today, I'm joined by Mallory Contois, VP of Growth at Maven and founder of the Old Girls Club. With over a decade of experience building and scaling high-growth companies, Mallory has played a key role in driving product, community, and go-to-market strategy at brands like Mercury, Pinterest, and Cameo. Mallory, it is great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it, and we'll start at the very beginning. You were one of the first 100 employees at Pinterest, and though it probably feels like a million years ago, because that's how tech works, you helped launch their ad business while the company was still figuring out its revenue model. And from the jump, Pinterest was a very different thing where it wasn't really positioned as a social network, but as more of like a visual discovery engine. So how did that framing influence early product decisions and shape the way that users were engaging with the platform?
Yeah. I remember, so one thing to know about me, even though I don't read this way, is I'm an introvert. And social media really was scary for me in the early days because it was a very unnatural thing, right? We were just figuring out how to use the internet, let alone like share our lives with the internet and with the world. And so what I loved about Pinterest was that my own organic usage, even before I started working there, I was in like the early beta, like waitlist group in college. I don't know if you remember, you had to like get an invite. It was a whole thing.
Vividly. I was all about that early Pinterest life. Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. But I remember loving it because it felt so clearly like it was for me, not for everyone else. And it was that thing where you didn't even think about if people were looking at your Pinterest profile, like who was looking at my Pinterest profile. You weren't curating things for other people, or at least I wasn't. And I remember, especially in the early days, we would always bring in some of the bigger like bloggers or celebrities or whatever that were Pinterest users. And they would say the same thing, is that they loved Pinterest because it was the one place on the internet that they didn't have to perform, and that they genuinely could find things that they thought were weird and interesting and unique and like engage with them without worrying about, oh my God, are people going to see that I liked this thing? And at the time, I know it's hard for any of us to even imagine this, but at the time that was like incredibly new to have a space on the internet where you were creating something just for yourself. Even like Tumblr wasn't like that, right? Like Tumblr was still performative. MySpace was still performative. It was not, I don't think we knew what performative could be at the time, but it was more outward facing. So all the product decisions that we were making internally, including ad formats, including how we brought brands into that space, was reflective of that for me mindset for the user, where we really wanted to be respectful of the space that we were creating for them and keep it like a nice, quiet Zen room and let them sort of create their own experience. So that definitely had implications for things like, how are we going to put ads on this platform without like it feeling really interruptive? Or are we going to, like, what are the user actions that we're going to primarily encourage, and pin this or save this was the primary action that we were encouraging, not like, not comment, not share. And you see that in it to this day where they've added in all those features. They all exist, but like, it's still not what you think of when you think of using Pinterest. And so it's interesting and kind of comforting to me that core positioning has stayed all the way through to today.
Yeah, it is very much It was so different at the time because I like to remind people, I'm like, do you remember that we were feral when MySpace was around and we were ranking our top 8 friends?
I remind my friends of that all the time.
It's insane.
We were all writing CSS code on MySpace to make it different colors.
I remember vividly in college, like my professor being like, how do you know so much HTML?
And then we all immediately forgot it.
Like the Men in Black, like memory thingy. Like if you paid me right now, it's not possible. Like, yeah. But it is such like, it's a great example of an actual disruptor. Like we use that word, I think, a little freely now as an industry. It's actually a disruption to social media because the platform, the early traction didn't come from influencers. It just came from your friend saving stuff that she was stoked about for her wedding. Or one of your girlfriends who was moving into a new house and was like pinning different things to different boards for design inspo. It was very much, it felt at least from the outside, like it was organic behavior. What did that teach you about user growth and user psychology?
Yeah, it was definitely my first exposure to like true word of mouth, like real organic community-led growth of your users and your super fans and your champions just going out and talking about your product in a way that was so authentic. I think the waitlist and the beta, the closed beta, opening it up, that kind of stuff was all signals of things to come, right? Like these are all like classic moves now. But the thing that you can't replicate is that really genuine, like, oh my God, this thing has never existed before. And now it's in my hands and I love it so much. And I'm going to tell everybody I know about it. And so I think it was my first time experiencing being on the receiving end of that, of seeing users talk about it that way and for us to grow that way. And I mean, it's one of my favorite memories, just telling people that I worked at Pinterest. I almost didn't want to tell people sometimes because it was like, I wasn't leaving that conversation for 30 minutes after. They had so many questions and they were so excited to talk to me about it. But that really is something that I try to recreate in everything I do now, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, because I credit so much of Pinterest growth to that.
Yeah. And it is funny. I work primarily in podcast advertising. That's where I spend most of my day job here, just because we're one of the largest buyers in the world of that style of advertising. And when you tell people you work in podcasting, it is all they want to talk about. They want to talk about their favorite shows. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten shows. It's amazing.
Which is so cool. It's so fun.
I've been in advertising for almost 2 decades and nobody has ever been this excited to tell me like, you should buy this show. I love this host. And I'm like, oh my God, no wonder you guys buy everything. Like, this is fantastic. But it is a funny thing to think about how early Pinterest was. I mean, you were there when it was pre-revenue. It also was $1 billion business by the time of your tenure. You mentioned now that like you haven't seen them really stray from that initial like focus on what's important. Is there anything that you look back and you're like, this was the moment where it was going to be $1 billion business, or this is something that's so foundational to it that it's taken for granted, but has had a lasting impact on like the success of the platform?
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely moments before I got there. I was hired onto the ads team. There were like 15 of us maybe. And that we were just about to launch our first ads at the time. But there were still conversations going on of, should we also be taking a cut of like e-commerce? We basically had these conversations about affiliate marketing way before affiliate marketing really became a thing. And we decided to just really focus on the ads business. And I mean, I was a baby at the time. I didn't know anything. But looking back, I'm like, it's interesting to think about what it could have been if we had been so ahead of our time on affiliate marketing. But I also don't think the infrastructure for influencer marketing was really there yet. And so I'm not sure. I think we would have been too early anyway. And then I think to your actual question, I was on the team that was like working with a lot of the early CMOs in the room selling. And I was an account manager for Target and Nestle and like some of our biggest accounts. And I remember having conversations where I started to realize the power of the data that we were sitting on to its full extent, in that we were one of the only platforms that had true purchasing intent data, in that like people were coming to Pinterest 6 months before they were moving into a new home, right? And like starting to plan their furniture. They were coming to Pinterest a year before their wedding and starting to plan all their outfits. They were planning for their vacation that was happening in a year from now. And so it was such rich intent data that you would be talking to these brands and you could see them just like salivating over it, because of course they want to be able to market to those people because the likelihood of them actually purchasing is so much higher. And so I remember even as a kid being like, oh, this is like pretty different from what's out there. And it was it felt so human. Like it felt so, I think that a lot of those brands had a lot of data then that they were like credit card data, stuff like that. Like that wasn't new. But this felt like real, like these humans are showing up to this site and they're making a board that is titled like vacation in Japan. And we know that they're going to need certain things for that vacation, right? Like hotels and flights and suitcases and whatever. And so it just felt so obvious. And so I think in those conversations, that feeling of like, oh, this is obvious. And I think that's when I knew there's no world where this doesn't become a huge business.
Yeah. And it also felt less invasive than Meta to me. Like I remember like Pinterest very clearly knew when I was engaged and getting married because it was practically my whole personality at a very short point in time. And then I stopped caring entirely, like 6 months before the wedding.
Yeah. And then it took you 2 years to get all the wedding stuff out of your feeds.
Girl, seriously.
Talk to me about the time I canceled my wedding and then had to work on getting all the wedding content out of my feeds.
You know, there's another side to personalized marketing that people don't talk about enough because like...
There is. Well, Pinterest finally figured out that they should just give you the ability to toggle off certain interests, especially ones like having a kid or getting married or things like that, like those things can change. But anyway, we were not quite advanced yet at the time.
No, but I remember like very vividly early on with like Facebook, I was like, why does it know that I'm engaged? And then it was like, okay, I must have changed my marital status. And then it was like the weight loss ads came and I was like, aren't you just a precious little, So it's like, it can really cut both ways, but it
felt more literal. It felt like, oh, I literally just told you I was going on vacation. So it makes sense that there's vacation content showing up.
Exactly. It's like at some points with e-commerce, when it's like cart capture, it's like, oh yeah, I bought the thing. I see the ad. I got it. Yeah. Like, but then, 10 years later, you're like, why do you still think I'm buying a car? Like, calm down. I bought a car 4 months ago. There's an immediacy to it and a relevance to it. I think one through line that obviously has permeated your whole career is community building. And you are now the VP of growth at Maven. You're teaching a course on community-led growth. In your last role as head of community at Mercury, you joined right after a major fundraise. So I'm curious, because that can change many things about a business. How did the timing for you at Mercury shape your approach to building a community and balancing that with customer acquisition, support adoption?
I definitely ran the lowest budget team at Mercury, I would say, because my goal was always organic growth and word of mouth led growth. And I don't philosophically buy into the more money you spend on events and things like that, the more people will talk about them. I think that's just not true. And so my goal, especially in my first year and a half at Mercury, was really like, how far can we get on almost no money? Like, what can we do by showing up as human beings in this ecosystem who understand our users and understand what founders are going through, and show up for them in a way that's actually useful, not like buying them drinks and like taking them to Knicks games. The fundraise, as it relates to the fundraise, it was really probably just some tailwinds in terms of awareness, where we had a foot in the door, where folks were already excited to show up to stuff that Mercury was putting on. They trusted us because we had the vote of confidence from the funds, and that audience is particularly aware of that type of stuff. So I think it was more of just a brand affinity and a brand confidence thing and less having the money on hand. But I also notably joined 2 months before SVB collapsed. And that, I would say, was actually a bigger influence on my role there, where I initially was brought on just to think about what should we be doing in the community. And then SVB collapsed and there was this real crisis in the space of what was going to happen to startups, what was going to happen to early stage founders, what was going to happen to venture capital, what was going to happen to all of these things. And then my role really shifted into trust building and into creating a sense of safety with the people at Mercury and showing founders that we understand more than just their bank account, right? That we understand the dynamics of what can be a really thrashy ecosystem. And so I would say that really impacted the tone of my role. It impacted the focus of my role, things like that, more so than the fundraise or the money that we had. Also, we were profitable the whole time I was there. So like the fundraisers were more just to reflect increases in valuation, less about extending runway.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I could see how the tailwinds of that would also help when you're heading into everything with SVB. Like, you have a reputation as being a trusted, vetted entity, for as much as that meant at the time. Like, it was a scary time to be like, well, if that can fail, what else can fail? But to have already cemented a position of like trust and confidence with your user base, like that feels like a pretty fortuitous timing that probably was fortuitous, but be in prep for quite some time. Like, they hired you for a reason.
It was also, it was interesting for me personally because my entire background had been in consumer. So this was my first B2B role and it was my first fintech role. I was literally 60 days in and I didn't know anything about how banking worked. I was like just coming out of I was halfway through my 30, 60, 90 of like figuring out who even worked there, you know?
Oh my God. Your 90 days, just like, how much time do you have? Are you a therapist? Are you licensed in the state of California?
I mean, in my like second month, I was flying around the country throwing these like pop-up events for founders with like massages just to be like, it's going to be okay.
You're going to be okay.
It'll be fine.
Here, we'll rub your back. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Oh
so it was like not really the first thing I thought I was going to be doing there, but man, it was just such a great experience. I had so much fun at Mercury and I'm obsessed with founders. I think they're the most interesting, weirdest people in the world. And I am so inspired being around them. So I just had the best time.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. Some of the best parts of my week are when I get to talk to somebody who either was founding team or like early on or a founder themselves. And like, you just never know which direction the conversation's going to head in. But I'm into that because I'm like the perfect mix of like neurotic and ADHD that I'm like, oh yeah, you want to go there right now? Absolutely. Let's go, babe. Like, I'm with you. Like, let's go on an adventure.
Absolutely.
Well, talking about an adventure. So you just started Maven. This is like, at the time of recording, you're only a couple of weeks in. So like, hi. But at Maven, so tell me a little bit about what you're excited to do at Maven, just because, you know, I'm sure you've spent a bunch of time thinking about it lately.
And you know, you can't actually ask me about my job yet because I'm still figuring it out.
What are you trying to do? What made you excited to go? Actually, I should say.
Okay. So the thing I've been telling people is I really want to get more smart people teaching more smart people. That's my goal. I think that adults, and one of the reasons that I was so happy at Mercury and like let the record show, I like would not have left unless I found something that I truly felt so called to do. And one of the things I've always been passionate about is just continued learning. I think I had cancer when I was 25, and a lot of the perspective I got from that is like, what's the point if you're not continuing to like learn and grow and experience new things and change and whatever. And so that's always been my perspective. And so I feel really strongly about adult learning and like upskilling and learning. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. It can be learning AI, but it can also be like taking a pottery class. Like I think all of those things are important. I've been so lucky to work with such an incredible network of incredibly smart people who don't have platforms or who are like, man, it would be so cool to teach, but like, it doesn't make sense for them to go teach at a university. And I know a lot of people who like feel this pressure of like, oh God, I'm supposed to go get an MBA. I'm supposed to go get a master's, but like, it's so expensive and I don't even need all those courses. I already have a network. So I felt it from both sides where I started teaching earlier this year and just, can I swear on this? I had the fucking time of my life teaching. Like it was so fun to meet all of these really smart adults who were smarter than me for sure. Most of them were definitely as smart as me. And they were in this course because they wanted to have deep discussions about like strategic brainstorms about community-led growth and how they were implementing it in different companies. And it was so fun and it was so interesting. And I felt like I got so much smarter by doing it. So on the instructor side, I was like, this is amazing. More people should do this. And also I'm making a good amount of money doing this. That's also awesome. Like love that. And it always felt like a very even trade. I am most excited about just bringing more people along on this journey of how do we create a friendlier world for like adult learning and how do we get these really smart people with these incredible experiences to share them more. I think there's a common fear right now or hesitancy around the future of like entry level and mid-level jobs with AI. And the reality is like we need entry level and mid-level jobs because who's going to be the executives in 15 years? And so I think in the next 5 to 10 years, upskilling and learning new skills and learning really like high context skills of like, how do you make decisions in certain contexts? How do you solve these problems? Like that combination of soft and hard skills is going to become so critical. I think it's so exciting. I think it's so interesting. And I just get to work with like super smart, accomplished people, which is really a dream.
I love that. That's why I've been a right side up now for 7 years, and I never saw myself staying in a company ever that long, to be honest. And it's just, I work with the smartest people I've ever met every day. I learn something new from them every day. Like, it's the greatest.
My last hurrah at Mercury was we had our first in-person conference, and one of the speakers was the granddaughter of Ray and Charles Eames. And she is the like curator of their collection and their archive, and also the sort of purveyor of their stories. And so she was talking to us about them. And one thing that she said, I think it was Charles, he had this really cool diagram that he had drawn. It was very designer, but like he had like sketched out this whole thing. And it was his belief of like when designers do their best work. And it's essentially at the overlap or intersection of enthusiasm and conviction. So the idea of like, where is the overlap between something you are so sure is going to work and also that you're really personally enthusiastic about. And so I think we can apply this to jobs. We can apply it to almost everything, right? But like, I think the dream job is something where you both have conviction that the company is going to work and like, it's a good business. It's a solid business that will grow and be successful. So you're excited in that aspect because we're humans and we want job security and money and success. And also you have the overlap of personal enthusiasm, and enthusiasm from my perspective is something that is like, you can't manufacture, right? It's either there or it's not. You're just naturally enthusiastic about something, or you're like, yeah, whatever, it's fine.
It's people now call it getting the ick, but like there is absolutely like there's a point in your brain where it's just like, okay, we're not eating that again, or okay, we're not doing that again. Or it is so hard to gain enthusiasm back for something after it's been depleted. And I've definitely hit that moment at jobs where like it really is like a moment where you're like, oh shit, we're done here, aren't we? And it happens.
And sometimes you go in and you never have that. Like the reality of careers is sometimes you take roles that you have high conviction in, right? You know, the company's going to be successful. You know, you're going to have job security. You know, it's going to be good for your resume, things like that.
And that's great.
And that's still a great job. That's still a great period for anyone that's listening. That's a great job. Like take the job. And I think especially when you're earlier in your career, it's nearly impossible to find those two in the same room. And conviction that something is going to go well is a really solid place to be. Enthusiasm without conviction, much more risky. But then I think as you gain experience and as you grow your network and as you do the work, you earn the right to like live in that overlap, and you start to have more choice and you start to have more control over what you're working on and with who. And I think that's when you can start to be a little pickier about that stuff.
Yeah. You are describing the last however many years of my life, but probably for a lot of people listening.
Anyway, there's a metaphor in there for jobs and careers somewhere.
I deeply love the metaphor because I am the most successful I've been in my career. And there are moments where it feels staggering and terrifying. And I know that people who, as they progress in their career, are intimately familiar with that. Like, what if it goes away? Or what if I mess up? Or what if it's on me and I can't handle it or whatever? And it's like, the older you get, that's not even about age. It's just as you start accumulating experiences and you continue to accumulate experiences.
The more times you mess up and everything is fine.
One of the women on my team loves to tell people there's nothing you could screw up that Krystina can't fix. And I'm like, could we not test it though? Like, let's just not test it.
I've just like colossally messed up so many times in my career. It's how you handle it. It's not that you messed up. Like everybody, I don't know. But you have to, like, you can say that till you're blue in the face to people. They have to learn it for themselves. Like, I really do think that is where age comes in. Like, I do think that when you meet people in their 30s and 40s and 50s, they are just so much more measured in how they think about messing up or how they think about mistakes. And the focus is much more on the like holistic experience or like the holistic approach to that kind of thing versus, oh God, I'm like, it's all going to go away because I messed something up.
Yes. 100%. Since we're like teetering on the edge of, I'm really glad we designed these interviews around my particular ability to focus on work for however long at a point in time. So we have a game that we play in the middle of all of these. Yeah, it's like a dumb little game. Well, it's an A/B test because marketers love an A/B test. Everybody loves an A/B test. It's the least scientific one you'll ever play, basically.
Great.
It's a yes or no, or like, which one do you prefer? Work related, some funsies. I'll get right into it.
Okay.
Do you prefer email or Slack?
Slack. Wait, is this like an explaining one or just like
you can if you can, if the spirit moves you to explain. If you're like, no, we can move on to the next question. Like whatever you
Slack.
I love a Slack.
Yeah. I don't really
There's
check
no Slack
email.
emojis in email.
True. Yeah. And I don't know. Email feels really overwhelming.
Yeah.
A really long to-do list.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. I've always had dogs. Although I had a cat when I was a kid and loved her. I just have never felt called to have another cat. But my friend has 2 cats and I love them. So animals in general.
We don't deserve animals.
No.
No.
My 10-and-a-half-year-old Frenchie is I don't even know what to call him. He's been through it all.
Yeah.
He's the best.
That's your boyfriend dog. I have a boyfriend dog. He's my little man.
He's my best friend.
Early riser or night owl?
I wish I had like a clear answer to this. I fluctuate. I like go through seasons where like, and usually it's correlated with like another change in my life. So like I started this new job and suddenly my schedule is completely different. Not because the job made my schedule completely different. I just decided to switch up my schedule with the change in job and like see how it went. So like right now I used to be a workout in the morning and then start work a little bit later person. And I've recently just switched to like starting work early and then working out after. And like both seem fine. So I am an 8 to 9 hours of sleep person though. That is what I am.
I support that fully.
So I just need to responsibly adjust my bedtime based on what we're doing.
Yeah, that part can be tricky, but I'm same age. Remote work or in-office work?
Oh, this is another one that's recently changed. So I have been working remote since 2019. So before it was cool, I was remote. And I love the flexibility that comes with being remote. However, my husband and I both work from home and have been working from home in our New York apartment. And it was getting a little close. So I recently got this new office in my shout out industrious space and it's changed my life. I love coming into the office now. Although I will say this isn't like in office because I'm still alone. I'm just not at home. So I guess remote is the answer.
I've been remote since 2018.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't imagine. I like going and I like seeing everybody. I like meeting up. We do company retreats a couple times a year, but like the flexibility that it allows you to have it. I actually think that's part of why I'm doing my best work. Cause it just, I can adjust and adapt to like, sometimes I want to work until 11 o'clock at night. I was forged in the fires of New York agency when I was baby. And that's sometimes her lizard brain comes out and that's what we're going to do. And then,
I was also a fun fact. I also started in the ad tech space in New York in 2011. So
cool.
We're forged from the same fire.
Yeah. You look back and you're like, I'm surprised I'm alive.
Yeah.
Like it's good. We were just having this conversation the other day because I let slip that one time I went out to the TRL house in the Hamptons. You're welcome for every part of it. And I was like, I don't remember how I got it. Yeah. Sure. I was like, I don't remember how I got there and I don't remember how I got home. And then we all took a beat and we were like, it's amazing we're alive.
Yeah.
It had to be the jitney. It had to be.
The classic jitney.
Classic jitney experience, 100%. I'm like, it had to be. I couldn't afford to like buy or rent a car or whatever. So did
we get here from remote work?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We contain multitudes. Instagram or YouTube? You can't be Pinterest.
I just am not really on either. I post, so my Instagram strategy is that I post once a month and I just dump like 20 photos from the month. And it's funny, it's my Pinterest coming out. I don't actually think about anybody else looking at them. I just use it to remember. Like I look at my own profile all the time as just like a photo book of like what I did each month. And so like if people want to look at it and like it, fine.
Have fun.
Whatever. But like my husband and I go through them all the time. Like they're little cute photo albums.
Okay, honestly, I haven't posted on Instagram in 5 years.
Check out my Instagram. I think you'll be inspired. I also have a story highlight for each year starting in 2021. So I can like go back and just like go through my years, and it's so cute.
I'm literally, let the record show, I am taking a note. Stalk Mallory.
Yeah,
I'm
easy
on
to find.
Insta.
It's just my name.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, so let's see. Organic or paid media? Do I even need to ask? I will skip that one. Apple or Android?
I mean, things have to be really bad if I'm like paying for advertising for anything I'm doing. I'm not doing well. Like someone should check on me if that's happening.
I have to tell, as somebody who's been in paid media for 20 years, I actually effing love this so much because like I've also done SEO. I've pretty much dabbled in every channel under the sun, but I'm like, if you can get it for free. Now people forget that like free is not free.
No.
Like that's just every time somebody's like, yeah, that brand activation and blah, blah, I'm like, oh, sweet angel. You have no idea how much that costs. Like, tell me you know nothing about that. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not free. It's organic. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do like two more. Startup or Fortune 500 company?
Startup.
Sneakers or heels?
Sneakers. I'm 5'2"-ish. So like I, in theory, like heels for their functionality, but I'm not a discomfort girl. I like to be comfy.
Yep. I do love to be comfy. Okay, last one. Cocktail party or dinner with friends?
Dinner with friends. I love like a casual. Also, I hate small talk. So I'm just like, unless it's a cocktail party with my closest friends, because then.
No, I'm into that because then you have bites. Like,
yeah, I'm down for like bites with friends and no strangers. So if that's what we're talking about, then maybe that's my vote.
That everybody always does an it depends. I love a decisive woman. By the way, you didn't give me that answer once. You weren't like, I don't know.
Yeah. I waffled on remote and in person for a minute.
You did.
I got there.
But you got there. And I love that this was the one it depends. It's like a cocktail party with my friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a few more questions for you here. I'm super excited to get into Old Girls Club because I did not know about it before this conversation. And like full spoiler, a woman who's a right side up named Megan Ohashi.
Megan.
Which I know.
Megan Fenner to me.
Introduced us to Mallory. Megan Fenner, I know. Yeah, sorry, bud. He's probably gonna be like, whatever. They're crazy. It's fine. But she introduced us, and then I started looking into the Old Girls Club, and I was like, oh, this is right up my alley because. So you started it in 2022 to support ambitious women and non-binary people in tech. Since then, it's now a 2,000 member paid community. Where have you found, I'm sure members join for all sorts of different reasons at every different point in their career, but like where have you found that members of the community need the most support? Is it advancing their careers? Is it raising their first round? Is it stepping into new leadership roles?
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons OGC's done so well, despite it being a side project of mine, is that I always approached it pretty holistically as women who are further along in their careers in their 30s, 40s, and 50s tend to have a lot going on. And so they're stressed in a lot of different areas of their life. They are self-described, ambitious, career-oriented women and people who their career is important to them. It's a core part of their identity. But we don't ignore the fact that many of them are managing a household. Many of them have kids. Many of them have a partner. Many of them are caring for their parents. Many of them are dealing with other people's kids. I think working women who make it into their 40s and 50s in particular as like full-time successful professionals are so multidimensional and so stressed that the showing up and being like, just come into this space. We understand. And like, we get it. We get that like, it's a shit show. Like there's no showing up and being like, everything's amazing. And like, I am doing so great in my career. And like, oh my God, my week was awesome. And I like there's none of that. Like, no.
No.
I have always been, again, I think it harkens back to like my experience with cancer. I just don't have a filter. I've always been an open book with my health. I've always been an open book with my mental health. I've always been an open book with like my ups and downs and struggles and whatever. And I hate the organizations that like glamorize that or make it into like a cute thing. Like, it's just life. Like, that's just, we don't need to like brand it. This is just like the experience of a 35-year-old woman. And like, don't make it weird, you know? And so I think for me, I've always wanted it. I don't advertise for OGC. It's really just been a completely referral based growth plan. And it really is about women showing up to other people that they know that are in similar spaces in their life and being like, hey, this space is like kind and warm and nice. And you can get help with your job here. You can also get help from like advice from other parents. You can get advice from people who are caring for their parents. You can get advice on like the best leggings, like whatever. It's just a safe space of people that are in a similar life mental space as you. So there really is not an answer. And like, it's, I mean, I guess if I forced myself to give you an answer, I think most women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are working full time need the most support in figuring out balance and not in like the like work-life balance way, and like literally like staying afloat way, and like not having a meltdown way. And then also thinking about career progression gets really weird when you're like 35 plus, I think, because there aren't clear paths anymore. There aren't like, oh, I just follow these steps and like I go from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4.
Yep. Marketing manager, senior marketing manager.
I see a lot of women also decide to go fractional or consultant to have more flexibility in their schedule. There are challenges that come with that. So I think that career planning piece, not that there are any like quote unquote answers, but having comparison points and like having people to bounce ideas off of and having examples, et cetera. Those are all really helpful. So I think that's kind of the bulk of what's in there.
Yeah, I love that. I also I think women are natural community builders.
Yes. It totally just goes without me. Like the first year and a half, I was really active in terms of like moderating and whatever. Now I have a couple of part-time community members who I just compensate for their time, and they help me with just like keeping an eye on things and getting events set up and stuff like that. But otherwise, the community is totally self-sufficient. Women are so good at following rules. When you put them into a space, you're like, do this thing. They're like, okay, it's the least problematic user group ever.
Sounds reasonable.
And they really know how to take advantage of something like that too. Like, they're willing to put themselves out there. They're willing to be vulnerable. Some people, it takes a little bit longer than others to adjust because they haven't had a space like that before. So it feels very unnatural to show up like unpolished, especially with other professionals where they're like, well, this person might hire me one day. But the reality is people still hire each other from OGC because they're having these honest conversations and they can trust each other, you know?
I do. And I started what it's called our ladies channel, but I was explaining to somebody I was interviewing the other day, but I'm like, it is unhinged, first of all, like deeply unhinged. It could be everything from like, did you hear about the latest with the Karen Reed trial, to I need a new brow pencil, to did you guys hear about what happened with so-and-so?
Is anyone else's like moon in Saturn right now?
Please. Every time Mercury is in retrograde, every single time.
Can someone please pull my tarot cards?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, if the first person who makes like a Slackbot tarot.
Well, there's one on not Slackbot, but it's there's like a Telegram one. There's a couple of like AI bots that'll pull tarot cards for you.
I'm into it.
I like the human. I want the person to look me in the eyes and pull the cards, though.
I definitely have other questions for you. You mentioned the community has scaled and grown in a way that like maybe you kind of knew what happened, but maybe didn't foresee happening, that it lives in its current iteration as it is now. What are the most impactful ways that you've seen members show up for each other? Because you just mentioned like people hiring each other out of OGC. What are some things that stick with you that you're like, this is a real community? This isn't just like a thing I built. This is when I am no longer here or able to show up in this capacity or whatever. This is a community that like exists.
Yeah. I mean, there are a million. I'll think of some recent examples. One thing that is a critical part of it is there's a You have the capacity to post anonymously, but there are also norms around it where people are really encouraged to post non-anonymously unless it's like truly necessary. So one person recently posted that she had just had a miscarriage and she didn't know how to tell her husband. And 45 replies of people who had gone through similar things, who had advice, who were just sending hugs, who were just providing affirmation that like she is not the first or the last person to go through this and she will make it through. So it's stuff like that, all the way to recently somebody was like, hey, I have a job offer in hand. This is the role, this is the comp, this is the equity, these are the benefits. Like, is this normal? How should I negotiate? That sort of thing. And people showed the fuck up and were like, this is too low. This is what you need to get. And I think she ended up getting like 20 or 30K more than what the offer was because we all coached them through. Ask for the biggest number that you can without laughing. So there was like, there's that kind of stuff.
And that's a huge impact on a woman's life.
Yes.
That's a huge impact.
There was, during the LA fires, we had 2 women lose their homes, and we had members driving around LA to find them and collect like baby stuff and donations and things like that. I didn't do any of this. Like, this is purely just people showing up and being like, oh my God, I'm in LA. Like, I have an old crib. I can bring it to you. Like, I'm 30 minutes away, that kind of thing.
No, people showed up for each other.
And then there's just a lot of like the regular stuff, which is like, hey, I'm applying to a role at this company. Does anybody know anybody? And there's a lot of those what feel like very lightweight things, but really can totally change somebody's life. You know, like we all know how crazy the hiring market is right now. Just getting a warm referral for a job can totally change the trajectory of someone's career. Getting a new client as a consultant can really get somebody through 2 or 3 months, you know? So like the power of those small ways of showing up for each other too is really palpable and really cool. I'm really proud of it.
One of the questions I was going to ask you is how you could see OGC like reshaping the future of leadership in tech. And I can ask you that question if you have anything that I'm not about to say. But for me, it's like, and not being a part of it, but having put in an application, there's an empathy that permeates everything you just said of shared human existence, which is suffering, which is hard, which is not easy, and the more people we have in leadership positions who understand that and who show up to work every day and live that, like that hopefully will make everybody's jobs a little easier and make the work a little better. And just, I could see this shaping the future of how these women in your community lead because of their exposure to it.
Yeah, I think my hopes are always that I can expose people to another way of communicating about work and about the things they're going through in their life. Because a lot of women don't have models for this, right? Like they grew up being told, be polite, be liked, be chosen, be all these things. And so if I can be the person who can be like, fuck that, like you don't have to be all those things. Like you have to take care of yourself, and you have to take care of your friends, and you have to take care of your health, and you have to take care of your family. You have to go make money so that you have choice in what you do in your future. So like, I like to be a model for that. I also tend to be, I actually haven't landed on whether this is pessimistic or not. I don't have a ton of optimism around leadership in tech changing a lot over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. Maybe 15. I think I'll be out of it by the time it really changes, if it ever does. I used to have more optimism than I do. I think it's hard now because it is more in the media that it is like getting better, but when you're in it, it doesn't feel like it's getting better, and that actually feels worse, that like other people think it's getting better when it isn't. And so I think my perspective is I don't have a ton of, I don't hold myself to the standard of changing the numbers because I don't think that's realistic. I do hold myself to changing women's experience working. And even if OGC is a space that sits outside of their job that makes making money more manageable or more balanced or protects their mental health or allows them to keep going instead of quitting and like deciding to give up their career, that to me is a much more reasonable goal to anchor myself against, and still a very ambitious one. But I think that like the classic goal is like put more women in leadership positions, and like fuck yeah, like I wish I would love to, but there's just so many systemic things that need to change in order for that really to happen. And I think we're all going to quit if we hold ourselves to that goal, because we're not going to get there. And so instead we need to set different goals that are still important and still progressive without setting ourselves up to fail and to show up in 5 years and be like, I didn't do it, like that would suck. And so I really try to anchor people on other progress metrics.
I think it's the only way you could do that and stay sane, because I tell people this all the time, because like I've had a decent amount of friction being somebody's boss in the past and just in general. And it's like, well, let's think about it for a second. Women have only been in positions of management for what, a few decades?
We couldn't have credit cards more than 40 years ago.
We couldn't put a house in our name until like what, the 60s or 70s? So like, just gonna throw it out there, guys. Like, we can always like, what's the like shoot for the moon, land among the stars or whatever bullshit like that should be on like a Ray Dunn mug, but like change is incremental. And I don't often get personal on the show, but I decided not to have kids a while ago. And my sister was flabbergasted by this decision, was literally like, but how? And blah, blah. And I was like, listen, the way I get my fulfillment, the way that what makes me excited and how I see my impact lasting long after I'm gone is the amount of women who I've been able to help in their careers and that I hope to be able to help in the future. And if that's my legacy, I'm so good on that. I'm so good. And then I'll just be the crazy aunt who blows into town a few times a year and like ruins everybody's weekend, but like in the best possible way. And that's great.
Right. With all of your rest and money that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God. Yeah, she gave them candy again.
Well, you're going to love, when you get into OGC, you're going to love the Childless by Choice channel, because there's like, I think 100 women in there or so at least. So you'll have plenty of people to chat about that with.
I do have one more question that I'm going to ask you, because I end every single interview on it. But I came into this expecting to love meeting you and talking with you and all of that. I didn't expect to come away feeling a sense of validation and inspiration from it. And I hope that the people listening to this feel that same feeling.
Thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot to me.
My one question that I end with everything, or every interview, I should say, we hear the term growth hack a lot in this industry, and we love a growth hack. But what I want to know from people is, what is your favorite growth non-hack? What can you not hack your way to?
You can't hack your way to creating something that makes your users feel genuinely seen and understood. I don't think there is a hack to that. Like, actually what you were just describing, feeling that, that's the thing you can't hack. There isn't enough copywriting in the world. There isn't enough, like, it has to come from a place of doing the work. And I couldn't just show up today and say those things and have them mean anything without having done 15 years in the tech industry as the right hand to male founders and being in rooms of all men and meeting a ton of women who left their careers because of the pressures and the finances. Like, you can't fake that. You can't hack it. And so I think when the people that are listening are thinking about this, it doesn't have to be 15 years worth of observation, right? But it does have to be a commitment to like a genuine human understanding of your users or of your people or of your audience or of whoever you're talking to, not just a few interviews and a few surveys. It's really, really hard to get there. And I think that it's not that you can't succeed without that, but I think the breakouts, the companies that you see really just take off, the virality that you see, and everyone is like, oh, it's luck or it's the tailwinds or whatever. Like, no, it's genuinely usually because they have done something, or there's something about the founder or the person that makes them just understand their users or their audience in a way that nobody else does. And their audience feels that and reacts to it. So I would say that, whatever that is.
We're going to end it there because that is important. And you were wonderful. And thank you so much for all the time, Mallory.
Thank you. You were wonderful. Thank you. This is great.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Growth Talks. We hope you found our discussion insightful and fun. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more valuable content. And if you're excited and ready to start up-leveling your growth strategies and execution, Right Side Up has you covered. Right Side Up is a leading growth marketing agency that has partnered with over 1,000 companies of all stages and sizes to help them meet and exceed their growth goals. With expertise across all growth marketing functions, we can help you evaluate product market fit, develop customer acquisition strategies, navigate executional challenges and staffing gaps, and make pivotal decisions with confidence. And whether you need one individual or a custom-built, full-service team, we'll find you the right A+ talent. Visit us at rightsideup.com to see how we can help you and your company grow.